This week in our collective heads, wanna put an old rumor to bed. Stereotype that you've all heard, how we're all just angry video game nerds. Most of us have actual jobs, kids and families and cats and dogs, yeah. This week in our collective heads, this week in our collective heads.
Welcome to This Week in Our Collective Heads. I'm Patrick, and this is Kevin, the man with hair.
Yes,
Glorious.
I have
glorious hair. You do.
Thank you.
It's a family trait that I didn't get, but you did, which makes sense because we're in different families biologically.
Right.
Yeah.
We actually we did a DNA test. My little sister did.
Yeah.
We're like 99.9% white as. Like it's pretty intense. It's like all like it's Irish and then some random Northern European that's probably also Irish.
Probably also Scottish, Irish, Welsh.
Yeah.
All that. Yeah. I'm a quarter Portuguese, so.
See, I didn't even know that.
Technically, I'm Latino.
Okay.
I don't know. What percentage is allowed to refer to themselves as a Latino? I mean, culturally, I'm not Latino at all.
I mean, we get to kind of define ourselves. That's the cool thing.
Well, culturally, I'm not Latino, so
Okay.
I wouldn't call myself that. I was only calling myself because I'm like technically biologically, but I don't think that really matters to me. But I consider myself worldly.
Is there anybody in Overwatch that's Portuguese or Spanish?
I don't know.
I don't remember because like I know I know where Lucio's from, and I know like Anna, and I know the Americans.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody is. But if there is somebody who's in Overwatch that you've been looking forward to playing and you haven't, like the new player Maria, what's her name? Moira, that's her name. If you've been, on the fence about it and you've been thinking about playing, there's an Overwatch free weekend this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
And the Moira will have gone live at that point. So, yeah,
You can try
that's
out.
pretty exciting.
Yeah, you can try out the balance of it. You can try out Moira if you haven't played in a while. If you haven't played Overwatch at all, this is going to be a weird time to do it if Moira is thrown in the mix because.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it may help because people are going to try to figure out the balance and try to figure out how she and everything else will interact with each other.
Yeah, and it would also be a really fun time. I plan to try her because one of the headlines that I saw this week was Moira is not as OP as everybody thinks.
Oh, yeah.
Which means that most of the time she's going to be OP because people haven't necessarily figured out how to counter her.
Yeah.
I'm about that. So I'll check that out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be 17th through the 20th on PC and Xbox and PlayStation and all that stuff.
Yeah. And speaking of PlayStation, so Sony's announced a trophy reward system.
Yes.
But it's not just trophies. They've talked about trophies, but
well, the Sony reward system is something that's linked, generally speaking, to their credit cards.
Yes.
And so it's like the Power Up Rewards program, I think.
Yeah,
And
that's a GameStop thing.
Okay. There's rewards programs everywhere.
So
but
they've
Sony has
tied
one.
this in. Sony's tied this in not just to their credit cards, but now it is going to be tied to your trophies as well as your purchases. So purchases through the PSN will count for this. Scores will count for this as well, and you can earn points. You can then cash those points in for games, and it works out to a point a penny. Which I'm okay with because it maths okay, and you can be like, I got 100 points.
A platinum's worth like $1.
Yeah.
So, for those of us who really enjoy looking for trophies, this is just kind of an extra perk. It's definitely not something that you could like game the system or whatever.
No,
because like
just an extra bit of money.
Yeah, like there's been a couple of games like the Mayo Tappy game that was on Vita.
Yeah.
That was like the super easy platinum, but it was like but the game itself was like $1, and then you could earn $1.
Yeah.
And it's
There's not going to be a way to milk the system to earn more than you put in.
Yeah.
But it's a nice way to get back a reward system, kind of like the Nintendo rewards did for a while.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great rewards, but it was something there.
Yeah, and it's something that like you shouldn't necessarily focus on it.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that probably will every once in a while you'll be like, oh hey, look at that.
Yeah.
I got $10.
I think the only way to do it, if you really wanted to, and even then I don't know how, I haven't looked at the percentages and everything, was you can get the credit card So then you could make purchases through that, then pay off the credit card, and then get points based on that. But I don't know percentage-wise if that's better than like a Capital One cashback or something. Or the one that I need to do more of, which is the Target 5% for their debit and credit.
Yep.
So 5%, that's more than Capital One and any of these others do, because they want you to go back to their store only.
The PSN rewards on a Sony credit card, I believe, is 5%. So if you make PSN purchases there, then it's the same as the Target one.
That's pretty decent at that
So
point. Target, you get food, you get all kinds of random soap,
Switches.
whatever. Switch, you get a Switch. And what else is coming to Switch is more Namco Bandai Namco games.
You got it?
I got it. So Bandai said in an announcement that they were reluctant to put games on the Switch at first, and they're selling very well. And they're basically saying this was a big mistake. They should have known this was going to be a thing.
Well, nobody knew this was going to be a thing.
I knew it was going to be a thing.
Up to and including Nintendo.
Well, I think Nintendo knew that it was going to be a thing. I don't think they knew how big, but they knew it had to be the thing.
Yeah.
So
did you hear about them increasing production for next year? They're going to make like 30 million or something.
30 million Switches.
Yeah. So that's very unusual for Nintendo. They have a tendency to really kind of try to skirt the line of supply and demand. And
I think that but the Bandai news was basically they're saying that they're bringing 3 exclusives and ports,
and basically everything that they're making, they're going to be like, and Switch.
Yes.
So that's going to be the new Vita.
They realized that it's not doing the numbers that PlayStation is doing. All right, it's not doing the numbers that PlayStation is doing. Month to month, it's doing much better than Xbox.
Yeah.
So they believe that in a few years, this is going to be in a ton of households, and their goal is to have a Switch for every person, not a Switch per household, which I think makes sense with it being a handheld. And I don't like the way that they've. You can transfer your games and your profiles between Switches. I wish that you could just log in like PSN, but I think that they want to get a Switch in every person's hands as opposed to household.
I would like to get a Switch in my hands.
Yes, if you have 3 gamers in the family, they want 3 Switches in that household.
Yeah.
I think that they could do it. I think that Switch is proving to be versatile enough. And did you see the numbers on how people play the Switch?
I've not.
So there were numbers. I should have pulled this up because I thought we were going to discuss it, but then I forgot. So there's Nintendo put out numbers saying, okay, here's our sales, here's everything. By the way, this is how people play our Switch.
I love data like this.
Yes.
This is so much fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to double check my numbers real quick. But basically they were like, how does... where is it played? Well, that may take a bit. I'm not going to be able to give you exact numbers, but basically, there it is.
Link.
Most people play in handheld mode. That's deceiving as a title. So what is actually happening is most people play in both.
Right.
Because that's what it's for. Most people play docked and handheld because it's versatile, because you can drop in, drop out. Now, about 30% play in gameplay or tabletop mode as the primary.
Right.
And then about 18% play only in TV. Now I'm in the majority as playing in both, but I will say I play a lot more in docked, just because most of my gameplay is done on the couch, and when I'm undocking, it's usually because Whitney's playing something or watching something, or I want to watch a Netflix thing or listen to a TV show.
Well, you can watch Hulu now on it.
I can watch Hulu
because that came out this week.
Hulu came out in a get it right now kind of announcement. Hulu's on there, which it's not Netflix, but it's something. Mm-hmm. Netflix will be coming. I know it will. In Netflix, Amazon, and everything's going to have to come to it.
Yeah.
And that's just a given in the world that we live in.
So what's your Hulu recommendation? Mine's
Rick
Bob's
and Morty?
Burgers.
Okay.
Bob's Burgers is on Hulu.
Rick and Morty's still on there, right? So yeah. Did they get pulled off?
I don't think so.
Okay, I haven't watched.
Yeah, because I tried to find it on I tried to find it on there, and then I ended up having to go to their app to watch it. So
I've been watching more Netflix and Amazon exclusives, and I haven't watched that much Hulu in quite a while.
Okay, Amazon exclusives. For those of you who like terrible, terrible things, there's a meteorologist lady who made a mini-series called Dagger Kiss. And I know that it's hard to name things. Like TWIOCH, I like that name. It's weird. It's hard to say. It's hard to get people to spell or whatever. A lot of people put an extra T in there. But Dagger Kiss is a series that's like it's like 8 episodes. They're like 10 to 15 minutes long, and it just makes no sense. You have so many questions. It's really, really terrible. I highly recommend it.
So some meteorologist made this show.
Yeah, Tucky Williams is go ahead and click on Tucky Williams. Tucky Williams is a meteorologist and an actress, and she Tommy Wiseau'd this. So she's I don't think she directed, but she wrote it, she funded it, she produced it, she stars in it. And it's pretty awesome.
Okay, I need to watch this. This is my thing.
Yeah, and it'll take you maybe an hour and a half.
Yeah, we went to a cancer benefit this past Thursday, which I didn't think about talking about on the show, but this just reminded me of that. But it was for our friend Devin Pike, which I'll put a link in on the YouTube and everything for. They're raising money for. It's not just for him, but also for cancer benefit for Dallas company.
And we don't typically swear on this show, but fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer. That's the hashtag. Save Devin. Hashtag fuck cancer.
Okay.
So I got to go there, and one of the items that was in the silent auction was the Christopher Mim collection. So Christopher Mim does movies that are in the style of really bad B movies from like the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, I've heard of him. I haven't actually.
So I have the collection now because
Okay.
I bid on it and I won it, and I'm like, this is my thing. I have to get it. So it just reminded me of that because at least he's doing it, and it's an homage to these kind of pulp cult films.
Yeah.
And he knows that, and they're beautiful in that aspect, as opposed to trying to make something epic and falling short, which is hilarious as well. So
Yeah.
I'll have to check this out.
Okay.
One thing that I do always check out, by the way, is our Telltale Games, and I will still be able to check out Telltale Games. Maybe just not as many.
Yeah.
Telltale's laying off 25%, or they did lay off 25% of their staff.
Yeah.
Now, while that is a sad thing, and I hate to say, business is business, and what's good for business and all that, but I do like what they mentioned about it. They were saying that that basically this is in no way a decision or reflection on the quality or dedication of the work we've made. Basically, they're where is it? This is the part. Sorry. Our industry has shifted in tremendous ways over the past few years. The realities of the environment realities of the environment we face moving forward demand we evolve as well, reorienting our organization with a focus on delivering fewer, better games with a smaller team. So, I agree. I think that Telltale, for a while, everything had a Telltale.
They kind of with the season 1 of Walking Dead, they kind of struck gold, and everybody wanted more Telltale, and so they were a really hot ticket item, and like nobody else gets to do. Very few people get to do Marvel games, and they got Guardians of the Galaxy, and like they were the hotness for a little bit.
Yeah.
But they did kind of spread themselves too thin, and some of the series, Wolf Among Us in particular, kind of got lost in the mix.
Yeah, and which is sad because Wolf Among Us is a very good game, but because there were so many, Walking Dead got the forefront. I really liked the Game of Thrones one. I really liked what they were doing to talk about the other houses and everything. And
I love the fact that they were able to find a family that actually exists, but nobody knew about, because nobody knows about the Foresters. But there's like so many characters.
But there's enough that they could put in, and that was a great game. We're never getting a sequel to that. There were so many
that one's done. Wolf Among Us is done. Borderlands is done.
Yeah.
So like they had already kind of started to focus on this, and so as a case of necessity, they needed to let some staff go, which is unfortunate. But they are looking to, and they have been actively looking to help those people find other jobs, and
Yeah.
they're taking care of them and letting people know this is not because these people were not important. This is not because their work is not good. This is just because we have to restructure to survive as a company.
Yeah, they are streamlining, and that's what I meant. I think it's a great idea for their business. I think that it is a great thing to look into the future and say, this is what we need to do to make our games better.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that people lost their jobs in regards to that, but I think that it'll be better for their company and the industry as a whole. But one thing that I don't think will be beneficial to the company, sorry, not to the company, but to gaming as a whole, is microtransactions. So microtransactions have basically taken over everything. And I know you guys are probably sick and tired of me talking about it, but they're everywhere. They won't go away. And now we have Take-Two, who has said that because of the amount of microtransactions, the amount of spending, 42% of revenue quarterly what is microtransactions. 35% are digital purchases, but 42% microtransactions.
Yeah.
It's sickening.
That is a crazy amount, and they would be insane to ignore it. But like the thing is that that these are elements that a lot of us, you know, when we really think about it, because like I do phone games every once in a while, and for a free game, I if I play it for more than an hour or two, I'm gonna throw $1 or two at them.
Yeah.
But as far as like full priced games, it feels kind of icky.
Yeah.
And it's way overpriced. I finally got into the microtransactions on Shadow of War, and it's like $20 just to get like
a big
4 or 5 crates that may or may not work.
So,
and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
I'm not against microtransactions with a full price game that's geared towards like a single player kind of thing, like Grand Theft Auto. I don't think needs it. I think that the
GTA Online though,
it can work via
it has created a community and sustained a community and allowed that game to continue selling very well.
And I think that that's where I get into I'm kind of okay with it depending on how they do it.
Yeah.
Now when it's pay to win, I don't like that. But when you have a pay to like Rocket League is a beautiful, brilliant example of it. To say, you know what, if you're playing our game, you like our game, you want the Batmobile, you want the DeLorean, what do you want?
Yeah,
that's great.
I bought both of those.
That's great
because I love the DeLorean.
to pour money into that, you're pouring money into a game that you like. You're not paying to win, but you're paying for these cosmetic things. And as much as people don't like that idea, where you're like, it's the whole horse armor thing, because that's what started the whole skin DLC money, which was the horse armor in Skyrim, which was, I think it was like $4 or $5 for armor for your horse that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
But it looked cool. Now
it was a cosmetic thing, and cosmetics for me, as far as microtransactions, that's where it goes.
But in a single player campaign, I disagree. In a single player campaign, I think that in that case, if you're paying, you should be unlocking content. You should be unlocking some type of special weapon packs, which some games have done, where they're like, oh, you want these weapons, it's $5.
Okay. I will actually argue with you on this. Special case, Borderlands 3 will have microtransactions, and that is a perfect game for that. Because there's random loot dropping everywhere.
There's random loot,
and so
you're going to add more random.
If you want to, throw a shot at a loot box.
But that's multiplayer centric. I'm talking about
I never played the multiplayer part. And I love that series.
Borderlands?
Beat 1 and 2. Never played with anybody else.
I liked that aspect of it, to drop in, drop out.
Tiny Tina. I played with her.
Well,
she was awesome.
You can drop in, like the drop in, drop out part of the multiplayer in Borderlands. I really like.
Yeah.
And you have to balance that aspect of it. But if you're paying for microtransactions for a single player game, I kind of feel weird about it when you're getting random loot on a single player game, like with Shadow of War, which is why I personally am not going to do it. But when you have a multiplayer game where you have that's where I feel like it's not quite. I don't want it to be pay to win. I should say. Let me clarify that. I don't want to see this in too much multiplayer because you could get pay to win, or you could have idiots that spend. Someone spent $5,000 on Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
On Mass Effect Andromeda. Mm-hmm. They spent that much on microtransactions. That's stupid. People are going to be doing stupid things. I don't want it to be pay to win. If you want to pay for all your skins and all these different weapons, as long as it's not a pay to win to get those weapons, you don't get a ridiculously powerful, BFG. I don't want that.
Yeah. No. The last thing I'll say before we close out this topic is that games as a whole cost basically the same as like a $60 game kind of got solidified with the 360 era.
Yes.
And games really haven't increased in price for the most part, except for season passes and microtransactions. They've been trying to figure out a way to increase revenue because games are more expensive to make than they ever have been before, and the price is still the same.
Because you have games that are choosing, because we talked about this on the show before, that that when they're making a single player campaign, was it 60 or 70% of a game? I think it's 60% of the cost of making a game goes into just making the campaign. And then the rest was like multiplayer, the actual art assets, all of that. Yeah. So now we have games that are coming out that don't have single player, that just have the multiplayer portion, and they've cut their cost by 60%, and they've passed that savings on to you via microtransactions. That's what I have a problem with. If you give me a full game where it has a full campaign, has multiplayer, and you have microtransactions to sustain a multiplayer like Call of Duty, where they will, I don't, as much as I don't like having microtransactions in Call of Duty, at least for they're going to come out with a Call of Duty game, and there's not going to be a new one for a year, and there are going to be people who play it for a year.
Yeah, and that studio is not going to release a game for 3 years.
Yes, so that makes sense for them to continue to collect revenue out of those players as long as it's not pay to win.
Yeah.
But when you reduce the campaign down to 3 or 4 hours, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, and then we keep bringing up stuff that wasn't in the actual notes, but the sales of World War II versus Infinite Outer Space Fair have doubled. And it's like, yeah, of course they did, because this is what we've been asking for, and more of the same, and bigger, grander, better, whatever.
To put it in perspective, Call of Duty World War II made more money than Wonder Woman and Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Because this is how big the industry is. If you give the people what they want, then they get this. Now, apparently there are microtransactions, the crazy microtransactions, and the campaign.
They're dropping loot boxes on Normandy Beach.
Yes, but did you hear about the campaign?
No. I want to play it.
You can run through the campaign.
Okay. Like just
if you hit checkpoints, if you hit specific checkpoints, then the Germans will retreat because you're now in a next area.
Okay.
As opposed, so there are people who are playing it who will play almost the entire campaign without shooting anyone.
That's not how World War II worked.
That is not how it worked. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm going to cower and then I'm going to run. I'm waiting for the AI to kill people.
No, it's speed run.
It's speed run-ish. It's like, oh, this area I know for this next 3 or 4 minutes, I don't have to fire a single weapon. I'm going to hit this checkpoint. I'm going to hide here, wait for this guy to move, and then I'm going to do the same thing. This is not freaking Hitman.
Yeah.
And what's happening is you hit a specific checkpoint, and it brings up the next part of the story, and then all the enemies that were shooting at you vigorously are now running away, even though they're winning. And that doesn't make any sense. So that needs to be fixed, because I want to. If I play the campaign, which I probably will, I will play it legit.
Yeah, but see, that's also a player choice. You can choose to do that. It's broken, but you also choose to do that or choose to play it that way.
I'm sure not everyone realized that. You know, when you're playing a game, you're probably in the moment. You don't realize that, but it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, speaking of stupid, so Niantic. The company that made what was the first?
They made
the Nexus game. Anyway, they made a Google game that was called Ingress, and then they made Pokemon Go with the Pokemon Company, and now they are the two announcements. They are making a I'm guessing it's going to be like a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them type thing.
I'm assuming so because
It's a Harry Potter AR game.
So I'm assuming it's going to be like Fantastic Beasts, but because they're talking about wizards and witches, which the name of this, by the way, I just had it in front of me. Because you're trying to become witches and wizards and all of that, I think that they're probably going to have potion making in here, which means you're going to actually find, you're going to find plants as well.
Okay.
But the name of the game is
Wizards
Unite. So I think that you'll probably end up finding plants as well, and then taking these different things to make potions for your creatures, which can kind of make sense because it'll all work in the world. If they're not doing that, they're stupid, because that's just like off the top of my head what you should do in this game. I don't think this was a smart decision. I think that there will be hardcore people that go out and play it. Mm-hmm. We know quite a few that will do this, but at the same time, I don't think it is as engrossing as Pokemon in regards to collection.
Yeah, but what if it had gameplay?
Well, Pokemon has gameplay.
It has tapping.
It has tapping.
That's not gameplay. I
guarantee it won't.
I like the idea of having something more to do.
Oh, sure.
And then the other thing is that because Niantic made Ingress, because they made Pokemon Go, they have, and because they're Google, they have the infrastructure to make this cheaper than literally anyone else possibly could.
That's true.
The other thing is that WB says that they're opening a new studio exclusively to make Harry Potter games, which I think that's interesting. Possibly.
Depending on how they do it, because
there is absolutely potential for it, but except for the Lego ones, they mostly haven't been good.
And the Lego ones were my least favorite Lego games.
Yeah. Even less than the Jurassic one?
Yes.
Huh.
Less than Jurassic. That's like those are the bottom two. Obviously Star Wars is top.
Star Wars is the best.
It's Star Wars, Marvel, Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones was really good as well. I really enjoyed it, but I think this is not a property that does not have. It has a lot of potential, but it's got to be done the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that a on-the-go game could work depending on how they do it, but I'm more interested in WB making Harry Potter games because I would like to see a kind of action adventure-y kind of game. I'd like to see a GTA style open world Harry Potter where you can go around the school and go, hey, let's play Quidditch. It's basically be like Bully, I should say, where you're going around the school and you can play on the Quidditch team and you can do all these. I would like to do that.
Yeah,
that would be really cool.
And you do the classes. You do the classes, and you try to stay out of trouble.
Yeah,
and whatever.
You don't have to do every class because of the way that they can structure it. But you'll have specific stories where you're going through different characters and everything.
I would also like to see them go a little bit further away from the story characters and delve a little bit deeper into the world. Kind of like what they're doing with the live action Star Wars stuff. They're actually making non-Skywalker centric stuff.
So they're going to be making that's the non-gaming news, I guess. They're going to be making 3. So we'll start off with the director of Rogue One. Mm-hmm. has been put in charge of a Star Wars trilogy.
I thought it was the director of The Last Jedi.
Oh, it was The Last Jedi. I'm sorry. The director of The Last Jedi will be put in charge of a Star Wars trilogy.
Right.
Which they haven't released information on, but more than likely it's going to not have anything to do with the Skywalkers.
Right.
And in addition to that, the Disney streaming service that everyone's been saying, why would you do such a thing? Because who's going to pay for Disney streaming? Well, they're going to have a live-action TV series.
Yeah.
And
we pretty much have to get it now.
Yes, I mean, I have a lot of Disney movies already.
Yeah.
I have a decent amount of Marvel movies. I have every Star Wars movie, obviously. But to pay $10 a month to have access to all of that, I don't sports, but ESPN is probably going to be on here.
Yeah.
But if they have additional unique content like this, then I'm okay with that because I want to see more. Like I want to see. I want to see. Them take basically the plot of 1313 or any of that and make that into a TV series. Because I want to see bounty hunters. I want to see smugglers. I want Star Wars Firefly.
Yeah.
Because it works that way. It really works that way.
Yeah.
We can see
Speaking of smugglers and things, EA bought for $455 million Respawn, which they did that, and they talked about the Respawn has been working on, because they're under the EA umbrella.
Yeah.
They've been working on a Star Wars game, in addition to Titanfall 3 being announced as a thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, when you make a game and you drop it in between Battlefield and Call of Duty, and it's a shooter also, it's not gonna work. And that has nothing to do with the studio. That is not their fault.
No, it's not their fault at all.
But the interesting thing about this is Kotaku Jason Schreier in particular, reported that they hadn't confirmed this yet, so they didn't release it, but EA shutting down Visceral was actually a decision that they made at about the same time that they decided to buy Respawn.
Okay.
Because they have the right of refusal or something with Respawn, which means that if somebody else tries to buy Respawn, EA can counteroffer.
Okay, yeah.
Like they have that option. And so that's what they did. And they did it basically at the same time as they shut down the other one. But they split the announcement so that it doesn't look like we chose this studio and shut this one down to buy this other one. I just want my Star Wars single player game.
Yeah.
And it's it'll probably be years before we find out what actually happened, what that game was actually looking like, and we need the people who have been talking about it say that it was really fun and they really had a great thing going, but it's possible that studio and that product was more troubled than we knew about.
Yeah.
And maybe Respawn's was coming together better, and we don't know at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully somebody will dig down and find out.
Yeah, we're 0 for 2 in the single player Star Wars games, and I mean, you could play the Old Republic because it can be played basically as a single player game. It is a good game, has a very good story. But it is basically a single player game. But the last good single player game for Star Wars would have been Knights of the Old Republic, which you can play on your Xbox One now. But but at the same time, I mean, we're playing a remastered version of a 12-year-old game or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great game, but it's old. I want new.
My favorite part though is the hitboxes and how much more obvious those have become now that we've moved past that, because it's clear that there is a block here that I can't get inside of, and that's pretty entertaining after Horizon and Zelda.
Oh yeah,
in particular,
because that have completely blown the roof off of all of that, and they've made it made natural barriers that make sense, as opposed to a wall the size of the height of your knee that you can't get over.
Yep. Because I can get over those.
Yeah.
I'm really good at climbing over stuff, dropping down on stuff, killing people. Well, not killing people.
But not in real life.
No. But in pretend life, I'm good at killing people, and particularly in Hitman.
Hitman, yeah.
Because IO Interactive, because after they split and became independent, they hadn't really said anything about what they were working on next, but they have let us know that, hey, yes, we are absolutely still doing Hitman, because that is what we're gonna do.
Yep.
And so
I'm glad, because I like the franchise. I've always been a fan of Hitman. I thought that the episodic way that they were releasing it, I thought it was interesting. It was adventurous. I don't think that it works for Hitman. I think that as an independent studio, they might still need to do that, though, because to get funding out for themselves without the backing of Square Enix, it's entirely possible that they'll need to do that again. Yeah. I did like the kill Gary Busey and all that. You get to vote on which celebrity you get to kill. I think that's fun. That's
fun, and I also like because of the episodic and how much they packed into every episode is like there's a lot more to explore even after you beat it, finding new ways to do it. And from what I've seen, the challenges of do it in this particular way, they managed to take a limited amount of content and expand it in a way that makes sense and is still fun.
Yeah.
So I think that this will probably still work, and I think that that's probably the way they're going to go moving forward. And if you want to wait for the whole thing to come out, then you can do it that way and buy like the Game of the Year edition, which is what they have on Hitman now.
Exactly. So
and
you can do that.
if you want to support IO Interactive in their next venture, this money is still going to them.
Yes.
So pick that up if you're interested.
So I'll probably do that because I played as much of a fan as I was of it. I played the beta, I played the free weekend, but I never purchased the game. So I'll probably go purchase the game. One game that I did purchase twice is GTA 5. And I'm not the only one, because GTA 5 is officially the best-selling video game of all time in the United States.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which, honestly, does not surprise me with the amazing single-player campaign, with the amazing story, with the way that they... the robust multiplayer and being able to... I know that they've cultivated that portion of the studio as much as I don't want... as much as I wanted additional single-player DLC, which they said they were going to give us, they never gave us. I do like what they've done in regards to multiplayer and the story. The story is great. It is gritty and it is adult, but it is funny, and I love it. And as much as a bad rap as GTA gets from mothers and fathers or whatever, it's not for kids. It's not for kids. So don't buy it for your kids. Speaking of that, my nephew's birthday is technically this upcoming week, but his birthday party was this weekend, and one of his friends got him San Andreas. He is 10.
Yep. To the death of innocence.
I love San Andreas. It's probably my second favorite Grand Theft Auto in that era. Like I just love Vice City. Like I just love the music. But San Andreas is so immersive. It's so immersive. It's so great. But he's 10.
The other thing that I have against San Andreas is the fact that you can't fast travel between the cities, and there's like so much of a gap between these different things, and there just wasn't a lot to do. Like if you had a mission in some place and you weren't cheating and like summoning a jetpack, because the jetpack was fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let us know in the comments what your favorite GTA, like how you rank them. So what are your top 3?
Okay, so 5 has to be on top now. As much as Vice City was my top. I think it goes top. So top 3 is going to be 5, Vice City, and San Andreas. And though Vice City and San Andreas are very close, but the tone, the environment, the cars, the music, everything in Vice City is so like Scarface and Goodfellas, like the way that the 80s work in there. San Andreas, just the immersion and the realness and the grittiness is what they took, basically what they were doing in San Andreas, and bumped it up, and that's what 5 is. 4, they were trying to take more of like a realistic route, more of a simulation kind of thing, which shows in the driving. The driving was just atrocious in it.
It's pretty bad.
Which is why if you go further down, I'd say 3, and then 2, and then 4, and then 1. That's the way I'd rank it.
Okay.
Because one was just chunky. And 2 is so much better and added missions and things to do.
It really is. I also like playing the various groups off of each other.
Yeah.
Like the rednecks and the Yakuza were my favorite.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun.
3 was great. I think 3 was groundbreaking because I played a lot of GTA 2. A lot of that. When 3 came out, it just blew my mind. But those are my favorites. But speaking of favorites, one of my favorite things growing up was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they're coming to Injustice 2, I should say, and I think that's fantastic. I do find it funny that they're putting the Ninja Turtles into Injustice, which is a DC game.
Yeah.
Because I'm a nerd, and the Ninja Turtles, I don't know if you know this, the Ninja Turtles...
Yeah, because they hang out with Daredevil sometimes.
Because the same stuff that blinded Daredevil created the Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
So that's kind of weird. Now that may be that's writer canon. That's not the official because Marvel canon.
they've also hung out with Batman, I think.
They have. But the writer who created them, as well as other writers and people who've worked on Turtles, have all said no, this is what the creation is, and I love the classic Raph, trench coat, which no one is going to mistake him for being a giant turtle. But I love that because it's just so Fantastic Four, and I absolutely love that part of it. But I find it funny they're in here, but I love that they're in this. I'm curious to see how different their move sets are going to be. For each one of them, because they have different weapons, but I'm sure that they have. I'm sure it's gonna be like a Sub-Zero Scorpion thing, where they have similar move sets, and then they have a couple.
And then they have like their regular fighting moves that they got taught by the rat.
Exactly.
And then they have their weapon moves.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it's gonna work out.
I think it'd be cool.
But yeah.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you think about that, and we'll talk to you next time. See you later.
Thanks for watching This Week in Our Collective Heads. Subscribe over here and click the bell, and that way you'll know about any new videos that we put up, because we put up a lot of gameplay, a lot of stories from games and stuff like that, and gameplay is down here.
Yeah, and you got more editorials and news stuff down here. Check it out.